So my sister and I are close, and she visits often and often brings her 4 kids, tween male, pre-tween female, preschool female and toddler male. Her eldest loves comic books and my boyfriend lets him read some of his collection. They aren't like vintage comic books, they're the big book versions you can get after a series of comics has been published and contains them all. Well, one time they came over and my boyfriend was out. Her eldest asked if he could read some of the comics and I said no since my boyfriend wasn't here. He didn't seem to care, but my sister pushed and said they were just comics. I again told her no. Well, at one point I had to go out to grab something to make dinner for us. While I was gone, she told her son that I changed my mind and that he could go read some of the comics. He went into the room and started reading. When I got back, I asked where he was and she told me he was reading comics. I was annoyed and told her I said no. She said he was always careful and I told her that didn't matter and to go to ask him to stop and come back down. She huffed, but I insisted, so she went upstairs to tell him. Soon after she went upstairs, I heard a scream and rushed upstairs. My boyfriend owns many comics, but he arguably owns a lot more spicy kind. So instead of grabbing a regular comic, he grabbed and read one of them. My sister was screaming and grabbed it from him, asking why I owned something like this when I knew kids are often in this environment. I reminded her that 2 adult men live here with no kids. She said it didn't matter and insinuated that my boyfriend had been letting her son read these kind of things, which is not true. She tore out some of the pages and told me she was leaving. I told her she would have to pay to replace the book, but she refused and left. She is now texting me that I need to apologize for traumatizing her child. I told her it's her fault and I told her no multiple times. But now her mother has gotten involved and told me I should have explained when I said no that it was because my boyfriend also owns comics not suitable for children and that I was being rude by dismissing her. So am I the idiot? A tween boy sneaking a spicy comic book should surprise literally no one. You are not the idiot and I wouldn't back down an inch. Your mother is way out of line, undoubtedly because your sister lied to her about how things happened. Either way, your nephew isn't traumatized by the manga. If anything, he's traumatized by his mother's messed up reaction to the problem she created. Yes, 100% of what was actually traumatizing was the mom's reaction, which makes her doubly at fault. Seriously, she didn't accept a no, then get a consequence to which her reaction was actively vandalizing someone else's property while moving the goalposts of her patently absurd argument. Oh, and of course, she was fazed that you were being rude or dismissive after she ignored your objections constantly and even went behind your back. And now it's your fault that she let her kid do something unsupervised against which you objected. Funny how bad parents never seem to see when it's their fault. It always baffles me with these stories that people don't realize the angry texts or phone calls they're getting from other people are almost guaranteed to have been based on lies by the other person. I'm second-guessing myself because family member X called and said why. Yeah, because they were lied to, LOL. Agree. Please hand me the string of pearls so I can clutch them after you. OP, your mother is 100% wrong. You said no, and that should have ended the argument right there and then. No one should have to explain a no for someone to respect it. And as far as the book goes, she 100% needs to pay to replace it. Whether she approves of it or not, it was not hers and she damaged it. And that is what she gets for the assumption that all comics are for kids. I don't know how far you're willing to take this, but depending on the value of the vintage comic book, you could take this to small claims court to teach her a solid lesson. She messed around and found out, only to respond by messing around more. Wow, your sister is a piece of work. Hopefully she doesn't have any more kids. Maybe she uses your stuff to entertain her kids during visits. What normal, organised parents would do that in a home with no kids? She set herself up. My husband, 38, and I, 36 female, have been married for 10 years and have 3 kids, pre-tween, young grammar school and toddler. Yesterday was Mother's Day and my husband is notoriously bad at gift giving and that sort of thing. I have rather specific tastes, so I have to coach him on what I want for birthdays, Christmas, anniversaries, etc. But yesterday, he actually did a pretty good job. He had the kids all make me handmade cards, made me breakfast in bed, took the kids out the house for the afternoon so I could get a mani-pedi and relax, and got me a nice bottle of wine with some fancy cheese and chocolate. Last night after the kids went to bed, I thanked him for a great day and expressed how surprised I was that he actually stepped up. He told me I deserved it. But he also said that he hoped that I could do something similar for him for Father's Day this year. I asked him what that was supposed to mean, and he asked me if I remembered what I did for Father's Day last year, but I couldn't remember. He then reminded me that I did nothing for him for Father's Day last year. Then I remembered that I was at my sister's wedding for Father's Day last year. My youngest sister had a small out-of-state child-free wedding last June, which happened to be on Father's Day weekend. I was the maid of honour, and since our kids couldn't come, my husband stayed home with them while I was gone from Thursday to Sunday. I had every intention of still doing something for him for Father's Day, but I must have forgotten entirely and he never brought it up to me. So I felt a little blindsided and put on the spot when he asked me to remember what I did. I told him that I was sorry I forgot to do anything for him last year, but that I didn't appreciate being put on the spot like that. I also don't appreciate the implication that I purposely forgot or did nothing for him on purpose. I had a lot of things going on at that time last year, and I fully admit that I spaced it out and completely forgot. That's my fault and I accept it, but don't rub my face in it. I asked him why he didn't just bring it up to me, and he said it's not his responsibility to remind me. He said he didn't bring it up because he figured I'd get defensive about it and try to make excuses, exactly like I was doing. He then reminded me that I also forgot to get him anything for his birthday last year. I told him that I didn't forget, his gift was just delivered late. He then told me he has access to our Prime account too, and he saw that I ordered it on his birthday. I told him he was being a jerk and ruining what was, up until then, a perfectly good Mother's Day. He said he's not trying to be a jerk, he's just letting me know that he needs to feel that there is some reciprocation for this kind of thing. Now I feel like he only stepped up so he could rub it in my face that I didn't do anything for him last year. You are the idiot. So your husband is a terrible gift giver, yet you did nothing for Father's Day and only half-baked a last-minute gift for his birthday. Are you somehow trying to blame him because you did nothing for him on Father's Day and almost forgot his birthday? Girl, what the heck? Yes, you went to a wedding, but you couldn't manage to have the kids give him a card at least. He most likely did you a good Mother's Day because he didn't want you to feel how he did last year. Being out of town is no reason not to have a plan and something delivered. I reschedule holidays all the time. It's not hard to say to the honoree, I have to be out of town on X date, but let's do something special for holiday the weekend before or after. They know you didn't forget, you still do something to celebrate them, and whatever needs to get taken care of gets taken care of. OP, you're getting defensive and it's making you an idiot. You're the one who's repeatedly screwed up. It doesn't sound like he was trying to rub your face in anything, just that he was saying he was glad you appreciated the effort and that he'd appreciate a similar effort from you in the future. You're the one who couldn't even remember you'd done nothing for Father's Day. You only have one person to be angry at here, you. He's heard you ask for more autonomous effort and stepped up. Now, he's asking you to do the same, which sounds entirely fair given how you've recently handled events. I, male 30, took my wife, 28, out for breakfast at one of her favourite restaurants to celebrate Mother's Day. We were having a great time together and the check arrived. I gave the waiter my card, but he came back and said there was some problem with my chip and that it wasn't scanning. This confused me since I'd used the same card to buy flowers this morning. I asked the waiter if they accept cash, but he said no. I started to notice my wife looking pretty angry. I told her to give the waiter her credit card, and since our tab was just under $48 and I happened to have a $50 bill on me, I gave her that money. She did so, but acted very cold toward me afterward. I asked her what was wrong when we were in the car driving back home, and she told me I was a major idiot for making her pay for our meal on Mother's Day. I told her that I didn't make her pay since I literally gave her the $50 right after my card didn't work. She told me to stop playing word games, and the fact of the matter was that I embarrassed her and made her feel uncared for. I don't know what else I should do in that situation. How was I supposed to anticipate my credit card not working? To clarify, I have money in my account, so that wasn't the issue. I'm going to my bank later today to see what's wrong with my card. Am I the idiot? Edit. We have a joint household account where we each contribute some of our paychecks and the rest we keep independently. I paid with my separate money. Didn't mention I dropped our kid off at Grandpa's in the morning. Not the idiot. My husband took me to breakfast this morning with our kids but left his wallet at home in the bustle of getting the kids out the door, and the sippy cup. He used my card and then transferred me the money. This is ridiculous of her to be upset about. Making something out of nothing. She sounds hard to be married to. I'm guessing she's probably irked about something else and decided to use this as her in to be angry. I can't fathom why anyone would be mad about this. There's got to be something else she couldn't muster the courage to say that's upsetting her, and she's running with this. It's because she knows he's right, but since she still feels unhappy, she needs a place to aim her anger and dismisses his very legit point. She can't say why this explanation doesn't resolve the issue for her, because she wants OP to act as if those feelings are valid by saying he hurt her intentionally and asking her for forgiveness. Understandably, OP won't give her that because it's really not fair at all, so instead he's using words that she doesn't want to hear. I'm a woman and I remember my getting upset about crap like this when I was young. I'm older now and have learned to shut up for at least 15 minutes before taking any anger I feel seriously. It takes practice, but so does any exercise in self-control. OP's wife will become more self-aware and reasonable as she gets older. LOL or not. Poor guy. She's 28. There's no hope for her. It's a quite common behaviour among teenagers. A human brain develops until approximately 25, if I remember correctly. But at 28, I don't see much chance that she realises she's an issue here and learns how to deal with emotions. So I, nearly adult female, have this old school teacher who I'll call Mr. Miller. His first name is Stephen, which will become relevant later. He's in his late 50s and super strict, especially with the girls for some reason. He also has a special hatred for students who cut class. After some kids in my hour pulled a stunt earlier this year, they asked to go to the bathroom and didn't come back to class. He's had a policy that students can't take their bags to the bathroom. His rationale is that if students leave their bags behind, then they'll have to return for them. As you can imagine, this rule has frustrated the girls in the class. Unfortunately, as you probably know, often women's clothing doesn't have pockets large enough to fit a pad or tampon discreetly. I've just dealt with it by wearing bulky hoodies and putting my pads in the front pocket. Still, it's been really hot lately and our school has bad quality AC, so I didn't wear one on Thursday. Anyway, about halfway through Mr. Miller's class, I raised my hand and asked to go to the bathroom. He said yes, and I stood up with my bag hoping he wouldn't notice. He noticed. He reminded me, in that condescending way that older teachers talk down to teens, that I had to leave my bag in the classroom. I don't know how the exact convo went, but the following is the gist. Me? Sorry, I need it. Mr. Miller. I don't care, I make the rules in this classroom. Please go to the bathroom without your backpack or sit down. Me. Come on, please, I need my bag. Mr. Miller. All right, I'll bite. Why in the world could you possibly need your backpack? Me, now extremely frustrated and needing to pee really bad, shouting, because I need a pad to soak up the blood that comes out of my lady bits, Steve. Then I stormed out, bag slung over my shoulder. When I got out of the bathroom, I was intercepted in the hallway by a guidance counsellor and taken to the office. They called my parents and issued me a full week of after-school detention for use of graphic and vulgar language and unauthorised walkout. My mom negotiated it down to 2 sessions because I'm generally an excellent student and it was my first offence of this nature. I talked to my sister about it and she said that I shouldn't have made a scene, that it was his classroom and that I should follow his rules. However, she also told me that I shouldn't have disrupted class like that and that I was making a mountain out of a molehill. Her words have me second-guessing my actions. So now I'm wondering, am I the idiot? Edit, Mr. Miller's policy applies to all bags, including pencil cases and small purses. You didn't use graphic and vulgar language in my opinion. You stated exactly what happens in a female body. If your male teacher is too fragile to handle that, that's his problem, not yours. Absolutely not the idiot. I'd be going to the school biology teacher and asking why if the terms are vulgar, they're teaching them, and if they aren't vulgar, why I was punished. Get one teacher on your side and you might get them fighting for you behind the scenes. Exactly. Since when is human biology vulgar and offensive? This is some straight-up misogyny crap. You need to go back to the school and ask them for a list of the appropriate terms they'd like people to use to describe menstruation, and request they post them in every classroom so students know what correct terms to use. Would they prefer you say your uterus is shedding? Please do tell. This is crap. If you have the energy, fight this. Gen Z girlies take zero crap. It's incredible. Shame on the school for shaming you for normal bodily function. The most vulgar word in that sentence is probably Steve. When said right, that can certainly sound like an insult. Actually, shame on OP's parents. I would have fought for no punishment for my kids. If I needed, I would have gone to the school board. Any school Facebook pages? I would post there too. Your mom should have gone to bat for you instead of negotiating it down. I'm sure you aren't the only one being punished because of this misogynistic idiot. For background, me and Leslie, dated in high school but broke up because she lied to me about her feelings. It caused me to have trust issues years later, and I'm still working it out in therapy. My wife Holly lost her grandfather last week. I never had a chance to meet him since he lived in a nursing home, but she was devastated. We flew down for the funeral this past weekend. While there, I was shocked to see my ex. The funeral was nowhere near our hometown, so I had no idea what she was doing there. I walked over there to confront her, and she said she worked at his nursing home and was very fond of him. I told her I didn't care that this funeral was for family and she needed to leave. Frankly, her being there in the first place was creepy. She told me she had no idea I would even be there, and she was invited to the funeral by the family, so she was staying. I told her that if she didn't leave, I would call the cops for harassment and stalking, since I told her years ago I never wanted to see her again. She made both my wife and me uncomfortable. Later, she saw reason and left, and the rest of the funeral went ahead as planned. My wife was happy I made her leave, but now her family is mad, especially her aunt. Her aunt lived nearby, visited him most, and said that my ex was her dad's favourite nurse. I guess seeing her family mad has now made my wife question if I did the right thing, because now even she's saying we should have just let her stay. But I still think I did the right thing by kicking the psycho out. You are the idiot. You caused a scene at a funeral for a person you've never met because your high school ex was there? What a damn nightmare. Your wife is still with you after you publicly threw a tantrum over having to be in the same room as an ex from high school? It's not about you, moron. You had never met the deceased. She was invited to the funeral and had obviously cared for him. She wasn't there because of you, and you should be ashamed of making yourself the main character here and acting out of spite because of a high school ex. What sort of entitlement did you feel that you get to decide for the funeral guests of someone you've never met? How dare you? You should have left if you were uncomfortable, not her. Clearly, whatever type of therapy you're getting isn't working if the first thing you do when you see your ex at a funeral is to cause a scene, threaten to press false charges for stalking her, and kick her out of the funeral that she was invited to. Of course your wife is also the idiot for giddily going along with your adult tantrum, despite the wishes of the rest of her family and the wishes of her deceased grandfather. Both of you peaked in high school and haven't matured since.